Lord of the Rings. I like it a lot. The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies, as PJ would say, is, if you don't know where we are or what's going on, okay, I'll fill you in. This movie is directed by Peter Jackson, and it's the third installment in the Hobbit trilogy, the prequel trilogy, The Lord of the Rings. And, you know, you got Ian McKellen returning as Gandalf, you got Martin Freeman as Bilbo, you got Richard Armitage as Thorin. Those are the three big players. And then Thranduil's a lot bigger here. Bard is a lot bigger here. This was gonna be like the Dark Knight Rises of Hobbits. You know, like the third Return of the King. And the moment the credits start, the moment the Warner Brothers thing comes on and the music kicks in, I'm like... And that lasts up until about a half hour into the movie. This movie is not perfect. And that made me sad. I wanted it to be perfect. I had dreams about how good this movie would be. So if you have not seen the first two Hobbit movies, you should do that. But don't leave just yet. Real quick, Hobbit, dwarves, plus wizard, mountain. That's the first two movies. This movie kicks all kinds of ass. But it's not perfect, like I said. And that alone is just hugely disappointing to me. This movie feels really, really rushed. The first movie was a little too long. The second one, perfect. This one, way too quick. It's like Smaug, fighting, Bilbo, end. That was over so quick. When I saw that this one was 20 minutes shorter than the other two, I got skeptical. I was like, well, people have been claiming that they don't have enough content to fill up the three films. But that's not true at all. It's the opposite problem. There's too much going on and not enough time. It's like, give us a chance to breathe. It is one long action scene. I think if the first film donated 20 minutes to the third one, we'd be good. We'd be perfect. This movie it didn't unfold the way I expected it to. Like, there are a lot of shots in the trailer, in the first teaser trailer, where it's like, home is behind, that one, that are just nowhere in the movie. I don't know about you, I'm perfectly happy with a 3.5-hour third Hobbit movie, and I think that's something we sorely need. We need an extended edition. I feel like I didn't get the whole movie. The opening scene is freaking amazing. It is so cool. Smaug's back, even if not as long as we want, and he is top 10 coolest villains of all time, and he is just as awesome as you remember him to be. The cinematography and the CGI and the music is all just perfect. Bard is like he's like Batman. He's like this ordinary citizen, except his parents didn't die, maybe they did, I don't know. And he like stands up for his people, and he's so awesome in this movie. Like, this town, these people survive because of Bard and his actions that he takes and how good he is as a leader and as a father and as a fighter and as an archer. We left off in the last one with Gandalf still in Dol Guldur, so Galadriel goes to get him. And Saruman's there, and Elrond is there. Some stuff happens there, and that was so cool, I cried. It was amazing. I am just like, thinking, I am such a nerd, and I don't care. It's the beginning of this movie is the best. The opening, like, 40 minutes of this movie, that's where it's at. That's like, this is Hobbit, this is what I wanted, and I'm getting it. I am thrilled. I'd say everybody but Thorin kills it, which is kind of a shame. In the Desolation of Smaug, Thorin's just like, you're a good leader, dude. Like, yeah. Thorin, he's the Aragorn of this trilogy. So, you know, the greed, all the gold in the mountain and the Arkenstone and the greed and I am not my grandfather, you're not yourself, all that's starting to weigh heavily on Thorin. And that's something that's a good story arc, but here, it was really overly dramatized. Like Bilbo picks up on it, and like Balin's like yeah, he's got dragon gold sickness, and that's something else. It's like I wanted the Arkenstone to not just be this jewel that everyone wanted because they were greedy. I wanted it to have some kind of magical property, and it doesn't really. At least they didn't show us. Again, wait for extended edition. But anyway, Thorin is just like, you are so clearly messed up in the head. How anyone doesn't see this is ridiculous. Like, at the end of the second one, he's getting a little like, I will not risk the quest for one burglar. It's like, Bilbo, his name is Bilbo. And you get that a little bit, but that was believable. Here it is just, the fact that they all still follow him, it's like, you guys are dumb. How are you not seeing this? When the actual battle of the Five Armies starts, it's there's the dwarves and the elves and everything. It's all like, this is like this. There's some really sweet shots going on, and it's kind of like whenever all the pieces. It's kind of like a HeroScape game. Like you got your, because the dwarf guy has an absurdly big hammer and he's on riding a boar, and Thranduil is riding a elk moose thing, and the orcs got like weird undead abomination things from Warcraft 3, like monster tied together things from the evil within. And like they look like HeroScape pieces, and I mean that in a good way. I'm like, this is kind of fun, and because I played Lord of the Rings Risk. I know the map, so I'm like thinking like, oh, they're coming from Dol Guldur and good and bad, and I'm looking at the map and piecing together everything and how it fits and where everyone's going. The CGI is a lot better in this movie, I think, than in it was in the second one. Smaug still looks amazing. There's the part in Dol Guldur. There's some spirit things there. I'm not gonna say exactly what, but they look sweet. I'm like, you look like a glass thing with shimmering smoke, and they're sweet looking. And then the monsters are cool looking too. The movie has a very like whitewashed gray kind of, with a little bit of gold and a little bit of blue like look to it, and that kind of helps hide the CGI I think a little better. It definitely rendered it, cleaned it up a few more times before they rolled out the final cut. The music, there wasn't a lot of new music in this movie either. You hear the Lake Town theme over and over and over again. And you hear the Feast of Starlight theme over and over and over and over again, with like different instruments and different tempos. I'm like, Howard Shore, where's my new theme? I want one central theme for this third installment of The Hobbit, and it's nowhere to be found. I mean, there's cool choir stuff when it's needed, but that's really quick and short, and it's like Desolation of Smaug had the best soundtrack by far. You know, in the first one they got the dum 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 bum 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 bum. I think, I'll be honest, I'm gonna say there's too much action. I'm gonna say the actual Battle of the Five Armies, like the army fighting, that's all good, that's fine, that's perfect, that's amazing. But like, certain characters go off in different directions to go fight other people, and I think a lot of that kind of drags on a bit. And these dwarves are like Spartans. They're like, goblin mercenaries, no more than 100. You guys go, we'll take them. It's just like Dwalin and somebody else against like 100. I mean, they're goblins. I mean, goblins suck. And a lot of this is like the Two Towers too, in the because the Bard and his people and his kin, Bard and his follower, Bard and his disciples retreat to Dale, and there's a lot of that feels a lot like the Two Towers, because like they're holed up in this place and like they're backing up more and more and more, and there's all this going on. Not enough Radagast, not enough Smaug, not enough. I can't read that. It wraps up quickly, and people who hated the Return of the King's long endings will be like, thank God I can go home. But like, if that's you, get out of here. You shouldn't be seeing the movie. You clearly don't care. It's like, this is the last Middle-earth movie we will ever get from Peter Jackson, probably. And like, that wasn't enough. I mean, it's tied into Lord of the Rings pretty well. Like, there's references to like the Fellowship and how you figure like, oh, that's why this guy does this, because he goes to, oh, okay. It's like, after everything, you're just like, I want more. If you remember Alfred from The Desolation of Smaug, he is in this way too much. I guess he's supposed to be the comedic relief. The comedy from that clashes really hard with the whole like death, war, battle, sadness. All that aside, this movie is still really cool, and you've got to see it in theaters. I watched it in IMAX the first time, and I'm gonna watch it at high frame rate because I like the high frame rate. It's not for everyone apparently. I think it looks really good. So I can go from big screen to small screen, but I cannot go from high frame rate to low frame rate. It hurts. This duel between this guy and this guy is being pulled really far. I'm not gonna give it a rating. This is gonna be part 1 in a 2-part Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies discussion. This will be the review for the most part, and then I'll do a spoiler discussion later in the weekend when I see it again in high frame rate. Because I'm like, I kind of felt like this after Dark Knight Rises too. I'm like, when you anticipate a movie this much, even if it is still as good, if it's not the same movie that you think you're gonna get, you feel weird about that. So I'm not gonna give it a number. I'm not ready to. I gotta be honest. I'm scared. Yeah, I just want to get this out, get my thoughts. Is like, it sounds like there's a lot of bad in there. This movie, that is coming from a diehard, dedicated fan. This movie is still so awesome. You've got to see it in theaters, please. Is it the best movie of the year? I don't know. I'm still thinking, okay? Give me more time. Those are the negatives in a very, very positive movie. Because I was expecting perfection, and maybe that's on me. It's like, don't ever expect perfection. And now that I've had that knocked away, I think I could watch it a second time and really embrace all the goodness. So my little sister walked out, and I'm like, Allie, what'd you think? She's like, it was awesome. She's not nearly as critical about this kind of stuff as I am. Yeah, so like and subscribe. Stay tuned for part 2 till our next meeting. I bid you all a very fond farewell. I'm going now. Goodbye. 25 minutes!